Phase 5 just did the impossible. The lowest MCU low and the biggest R-rated win in history in the same phase. 6 movies, 3 landed below 50% with critics. That's a 50% failure rate for a studio that used to print money. And yet one film shattered records and reset the conversation. Here's what nobody's talking about. The numbers and the narratives pull in opposite directions depending on where you start. I'm ranking every Phase 5 film from worst to best. No fluff, just receipts. So by the end, you'll know which titles hold up, which ones wobble, and why the MCU is dead versus MCU is back. Chant flips after every verdict. Quick bet before we dive in. What's your personal number 1? And which movie are you never rewatching? Let's lay the ground rules. We judge 3 things: craft, crowd, and consequence. Craft is story clarity, performances, rhythm, and visual readability. Crowd is who shows up, who stays, who recommends. Consequence is what changes after the credits, characters, teams, tone, or future setup you can actually feel. Add those lanes together and you get a ranking that isn't just opinion, it's pattern. Everyone online loves absolutes. One side screams it's over, the other side shouts it's saved. Both miss the boring, inconvenient middle, some true peaks, some loud dips, and a pivot that tells you what the next year needs to do. Stick with me. 2 receipts from now will flip your assumptions. Here's what's confirmed. Deadpool and Wolverine passed 1.3 billion worldwide and became the highest grossing R-rated movie ever. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 crawled past 845 million with an A cinema score and old school legs. Ant-Man and the Wasp. Quantumania opened big and then fell hard, finishing around 476 million with a critic score under 50. The Marvels delivered the franchise's lowest domestic opening, plunged in week 2, and stalled near 206 million worldwide. Captain America. Brave New World landed around 415 million, with rough critical reception but warmer audience chatter. Thunderbolts won the critics, high 80s, on most trackers, and pulled a modest box office in the high 300s while quietly rebuilding goodwill. That's the ledger. Number 6. The Marvels. Let's front-load the receipts. Worldwide, around 206. Record second weekend drop. Mixed reviews with audience scores sitting higher than critics, which means a slice of fans genuinely had a good time. The movie's not a disaster across the board. The power swap fight mechanics are playful. The trio has light, breezy chemistry and bursts. The runtime moves, but numbers tell you the promise and the product didn't match. The broader crowd never showed up, and the ones who didn't send friends back the next weekend. The bigger problem is consequence. When the dust settles, the chessboard looks almost the same. You can't feel a next-day ripple in culture. That's why it sits last. Not because it's unwatchable, but because it's forgettable. A movie can be cute, inventive, and still fail to plant a flag. If you want loyalty, you need a pulse that lingers after the credits. Now, here's the twist. The Marvels exposes a pressure the MCU created for itself. Audiences expect clear purpose, not homework, not lore dumps, not a tease that only pays off 2 years later. Purpose. If the mission doesn't transform a character or reframe the board, the conversation evaporates by Monday morning. That's the lesson. Number 5. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Receipts first, around 476 worldwide, a brutal second-week drop, and a critical score in the 40s. The film tries to launch an era while being a family story inside a fluorescent snow globe. That's a hard mix. Jonathan Majors, as performed at the time, brought menace. The quantum realm isn't bland. The problem is focus. Scott and Hope face giant stakes without a cost you can hold. When the personal price is negotiable, the spectacle turns into noise. The best sequences hint at a lean, dangerous movie hiding inside the sprawl. That lean version would have trapped Scott with an impossible trade and forced him to pick a scar he carries into every scene. Instead, the emotional center wobbles, and the grand setup that was supposed to electrify the phase lands like a meeting invite. Opening weekend showed curiosity. Weekend 2 revealed belief. But it gets worse, for the trend line, not for the franchise. Quantumania taught Marvel a fix you can actually execute. Stop confusing scale for stakes. The audience will forgive a smaller canvas if the character choice cuts deep. Bigger is an effect. Consequence is a feeling. If the next wave chooses consequence first, the numbers follow. Number 4. Captain America: Brave New World. Sam Wilson's story matters. The show set him up as a leader without a serum, a man who earns authority by serving people in front of cameras, not playing to them. The movie turns that debate into a test. What happens when symbols collide with power? The result is messy, human, and at times uneven. Critics landed near rotten. Audiences were warmer. Box office hovered near 415 worldwide. The pacing jerks. Tone shifts without warning. Yet when it clicks, it lands. Sam's best beats reframe the shield as a responsibility, not a trophy, and that reframing steadies the brand more than a single cameo ever could. The Red Hulk twist brings big swing energy, but the scenes that stick are smaller. The grounded rescues, the fraught choices, the moments where Sam chooses service over optics. Now, here's the twist. Brave New World didn't fix the MCU. It did something quieter. It reminded the crowd that leadership is weight, not fireworks. That signal mattered when the next team-up story needed credibility. When the face of the franchise chooses people over posturing, the audience starts to listen again. Top 3 is where the oxygen changes. Number 3. Thunderbolts: Metrics First. Critics cheered, somewhere in the high 80s. The gross was modest, in the high 300s. That split tells you something useful. It's not fatigue. It's focus. The movie doesn't try to be the universe. It picks a mission, throws a scrappy crew at it, and lets character friction make the fireworks. Yelena's blade-sharp humor, Bucky's haunted competence, Red Guardian's protective bravado, Taskmaster's recalibration. They start as a PR patch. They end as something like a team. Most important, the public inside the story labels them the new Avengers. That's the pivot. The film sells a clear idea. The next flagship team might not look like the last one, and that's okay if the mission hits. You can feel the audience relax around that notion because it removes the weird pressure to crown a single savior. You won't believe this part. The brand fatigue narrative evaporates when you hand people a goal they can track, room to breathe, and personalities who spark off each other. Thunderbolts proves the fastest way to rebuild trust is to deliver a clean win at a human scale. It's not about how loud you shout, it's about how well the story lands. Number 2, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Receipts say success, over 845 million, a cinema score, long legs. But the reason this film endures isn't the tally, it's the choice at its heart. Rocket's past isn't a twist, it's a wound. The movie doesn't luxuriate in pain for shock. It gives that pain meaning, then asks the family to pay for a rescue with courage, not convenience. The hallway fight is a flex, sure, but the quiet moments are the spine. Sharing oxygen in a lab, a hug that finally means survival, a goodbye that chooses life over martyrdom. James Gunn knows how to land a trilogy. Finish the promise, leave room for growth, let joy be earned. That's why this sits near the top. It doesn't just entertain, it restores faith. But it gets worse. For any sequel that thinks charm alone is enough, Guardians works because the jokes sit on character, not the other way around. The villain presses specifically on their fractures. The needle drops amplify turns instead of distracting from them. The movie feels made by people, not piped through a machine. That texture is priceless. Number 1. Deadpool and Wolverine. The ledger is wild. Record R-rated opening monster domestic haul, more than 1.3 billion worldwide. The cinema score lands at A reviews in the high 70s to low 80s. But the magic trick isn't just volume, it's control. The film is chaotic by design, yet razor precise in aim. The humor hits because it clashes with genuine loss. The violence thrills because the characters want something simple and hard. A second chance that doesn't cheapen the first 3 movies that built these men. Wolverine isn't a prop. He's a person with a scar the film respects. Cameos show up, but the spine never bends around them. The thing knows exactly what it is, and that confidence drips off the frame. Now, here's the twist. Deadpool and Wolverine didn't save the MCU. It proved the ceiling moves when you offer a clean, honest promise and over-deliver. Ratings don't cap momentum. Confused aims do. The audience sprinted because the pitch was unmistakable. Come laugh, gasp, and feel something real with 2 icons who finally get to share the same oxygen without apology. Let's argue rumor versus reality for a minute, because rankings without context turn into noise. There was chatter that Thunderbolts existed just to stack cameos. The final cut keeps surprises in service to the mission. Quantumania was supposed to lock multiple phases into a single inescapable path. Real-world pivots and cooler heads turned that into a flexible lane instead. Brave New World was accused of undercutting Sam's leadership with monster spectacle. Watch closely. The thesis is the opposite. Leadership is service, not swagger. Context doesn't erase flaws. It explains them and it points to fixes. Time for character stakes across the phase. Scott Lang is best when love costs him something tangible. Give him a choice that burns, and he shines. Carol Danvers needs friction that strips away invulnerability and exposes purpose. Without that, the movie leans on quips. Sam Wilson thrives when he's forced to mediate between public need and political theater. Yelena and Bucky connect because they don't trust easily. The team works when they earn it in front of our eyes. Rocket's choice to live pays off 10 years of investment and lifts every scene around him. Whose arc needs the next big win? Rocket's extended family, Yelena and Bucky's scrappy crew, or Sam Wilson carrying the shield with zero shortcuts? Let's talk schedules and money without turning it into a spreadsheet. 2023 hurt. Audience attention scattered. Streaming fatigue bled into theaters. Effects heavy mid-tiers struggled to create must-see urgency. 2024 roared when a movie offered a crystal clear promise with a little attitude. 2025 split the difference. Critics warmed up to craft first entries even when grosses stayed mid. That matters. Reputation repairs before revenue does. If the next slate stacks 2 wins in a row, one emotional, one thrilling, the box office follows. Here's the overlooked pivot that changes how people talk. Inside Thunderbolts, the public dubs the squad New Avengers. That moment resets expectations. It tells the audience the badge isn't bloodline, it's behavior. Do the job. Earn the name. That single beat releases pressure on any one sequel to carry the entire brand. It also opens the door to cross-tone experiments again. Street level 1 month, cosmic next, sharp comedy a quarter later. Without the discourse melting down, variety becomes a feature, not a threat. So, what's the version that actually works on screen from here? Keep the latter honest. Let S-tier entries lead tone instead of forcing every project to chase the same flavor. Treat C-tier movies like farm teams, focused goals, smaller stakes, crisp character wins that feed the larger picture without pretending to be the larger picture. When you go multiversal, write rules the crowd can play at home. If a 10-year-old can explain the stakes back to you in one sentence, you've nailed it. Use nostalgia as seasoning, not the meal. And above all, make characters choose things that hurt. Audience memory attaches to price paid, not portals opened. If Marvel leans into that cut, what's the one scene you absolutely need to see next? Let's do a lightning round of myths and facts. Myth, R ratings cap global upside. Fact, a sharp hook and tight execution blow past the ceiling. Myth, audience scores are fluff. Fact, they predict legs, goodwill, and whether the next movie inherits a bump. Myth, critics hate fun. Fact, clarity and heart test well even with snobs. That's why Guardians and Thunderbolts read as wins. Myth, cameos guarantee success. Fact, cameos are glitter. The glue is a spine that holds. Myth, the brand name alone sells tickets. Fact, not anymore. The pitch needs a point. Picture a 30-second montage that sums up the phase. A city before sunrise. Headlines whisper, New Avengers. Yelena tightens a glove. Bucky spots a problem before anyone else does. Red Guardian sets his jaw like a dad who won't let the team fall apart today. Cut to Sam in a real-world mess, right hand helping before the cameras can frame a narrative. Jump to Rocket engraving a tiny plaque that says, Choose life. Smash to Deadpool scribbling a note, Don't waste this, and sliding it under a mystery door. That's the thesis. Not a crown, a reset. Teams rise from choices, not assignments. Okay, theories time, because fans love frameworks. Theory A, uneven but alive. Guardians proves heart still hits. Deadpool proves edge travels. Thunderbolts proves focus rebuilds trust. That's the cleanest read on the receipts. Theory B, it's cooked. The flaw? The loudest data points disagree. Records fell. Legs returned, chatter warmed. Theory C, Stealth Pivot. The public rebrand inside Thunderbolts and the appetite for character-first missions suggest the next phase markets teams, not tentpoles. Which story do you buy? A, B, or C, and why? Now, here's the twist. The ranking itself matters less than the pattern. When craft, crowd, and consequence align, culture follows. When one leg breaks, the stool wobbles. Fix the leg, don't torch the furniture. That means cleaner setups, payoffs you can feel, and casting that cuts through CG fog on pure presence. It means jokes that point at character, not away from it. It means giving editors moments that read in silence, faces making choices, not just mouths delivering lore. Before we close, one last receipt that explains the whiplash between Dead and Bat Guardians finished a promise. Deadpool kept a promise. Thunderbolts redefined a promise. The entries that stumbled didn't fail from fatigue alone. They failed from unfocused promises. Be honest, did the R rating reset your hype, or did Thunderbolt's street-level grit pull you back? Recap, fast and final. Worst to best, The Marvels at 6, Quantumania at 5, Brave New World at 4, Thunderbolts at 3, Guardians Volume 3 at 2, Deadpool and Wolverine at 1. That latter works because craft, crowd, and consequence point the same direction. Confirmed wins, likely pivots, and one public rebrand that lets the future breathe. Now, tell me your top pick, name the title you won't revisit, and drop the single scene you need to see next. I'll be in the comments replying to the sharpest takes. If this ranking with receipts helped, hit subscribe and send this to the friend who still says it's cooked. We keep it fun, we keep it fair, and we keep it about what's actually on the screen.